Hello, YouTube. Welcome to FAQ Friday. I'm Andrew Beach. I'm a teacher of self-education. I help professionals communicate their unique value to find great new jobs faster. Today, we're going to be talking about the idea of multiple offers. How do we handle it when we get multiple offers? The market, unemployment's really low, and the market is really good now for candidates. So it's not uncommon that you're going to find that when you do get an offer, you get multiple offers. So this works to your benefit. And the big question is, wow, it's so stressful, Andrew. How do I handle that? So we're going to get into that in a minute. What I'd like you to do is leave a question, comment, or tell me what is it that you're wrestling with so that next FAQ Friday, I have some topics that we can talk about. And if during the broadcast you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat down below on Instagram or over in the actually, it's on this side now that I'm looking at it, on the box on the right there, or the right of your screen. I have to use my left hand to point to the left to get to the right. So funny how this works broadcasting. Welcome, everybody. So I just wanted to let you know I've been coaching since 2005. And so since 2005, I've coached north of 1,100 people, either in a group setting or one-on-one. And so not only do I have experience telling people what to do, and what works and what doesn't, I've actually experienced it myself. So in my career, I've gone through 4 transitions. And so my objective here, my belief is I need to share what I learned with you. And so FAQ Friday is the beginning of that. And I have a number of other things that I can help you with. So please don't hesitate to ask any questions, concerns, leave them in the comments. Okay? So let's move on over to the slide deck. So how to handle multiple job offers. You know, in this day and age when we're such high demand and low supply of quality talent, we're in a position where we as candidates can demonstrate our value, get multiple interviews, and then end up with multiple offers. Totally common. The first thing I would suggest that you do is actually, let's get over here. There we go, is respond in gratitude. So when you get multiple offers, let's recognize that you need to be grateful for that. So when you respond to, hey, here's an offer, recognize that the company has gone through a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of effort to get to that point. They've had to go through multiple candidates, and not only is it a tough decision for you, but it's certainly a tough process decision for them that they've made a lot of investment to make it work. Okay, so respond in gratitude. Always be grateful for what you do have. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is I highly recommend almost over communication. That means, hey, I received the offer. Thank you very much. When you review the offer, say, hey, I've reviewed the offer. I see that the response date is here. Is it okay if I get to you by tomorrow during the deadline with a response? Just make sure you over communicate. I think that can't be stated enough, is that sometimes as hard as it is for us as candidates to not hear anything, it's probably equally as challenging for the other side not to hear anything. So I would suggest over communicate just your process. What are you doing? Okay. And so that's with everybody that's involved in the process, including the HR, perhaps even the hiring manager. And sometimes you want to do that based on there are certain communication methods. Most people in HR, they want to see something in email. So send them an email. Oftentimes you'll get a hiring manager doesn't follow their email closely, perhaps, and maybe a phone call would be more appropriate with them. So whatever it is, email or phone, communicate. Okay. Also understand, know your timeline as well as theirs. Now it's oftentimes that you get multiple offers, they have different start dates. So how do you know which one you negotiate first? Well, it's the one that you actually have the soonest in terms of response time. So if you negotiate with that one first, know that your timeline based on your needs to give notice, to say, okay, hey, once I leave this job, I maybe want to have a few days off, or maybe you just want to collect your thoughts and you need an extra time. That's totally acceptable. And certainly let's recognize that both sides want to be reasonable in this whole process. So as long as you're reasonable and you're honest and you over communicate, I don't think it's a problem if you need extra time. You just need to ask for it. Okay. That brings us to the next one. Identify, in this case, not only your negotiables, but your non-negotiables. often when we get into a negotiation or we get an offer, we might only have one offer. And it's really difficult to negotiate from one offer. It doesn't give you any leverage. And so oftentimes when we receive it, even though it's one offer, we don't feel like we have the ability to negotiate. And recognize you do. You do have the ability to negotiate on any offer. So really, it's almost expected that you would ask for something in terms of PTO or additional compensation, a signing bonus. There's a whole slew of negotiable items that come out of working through this process that they're totally expecting you to ask for. Okay. Now, you also need to identify what is the company's non-negotiables, because there's certain things that they can negotiate, but there's other things they can't. And so just make sure you identify what those are for the other party. Okay. So the reason this is important is you want to do comparison. Oftentimes when we look at an opportunity, we're comparing it to what we're in now, the environment we're in now. And so sometimes that's a grass is greener comparison. Hey, they got all this great stuff, but we don't recognize in our current role what is the things we like about our current role. Oftentimes we're looking outside of our current company because we're not satisfied. And so whether or not you're satisfied, just jot down those things you like about your current role or your most recent role, and make sure you're using those as part of your comparative as well. Okay? So that may be something as simple as one of my friends, he was really highly interested in remote work. He wanted to work from home 3 days a week. And many of the people that he was getting offers from would not allow that. And so just recognize that that's something that you need to be conscious of. What are your current situations that you enjoy and that you like? And what are the non-negotiables? So that you can list each role and make a comparison, logically speaking. Okay? Then it comes time to negotiate. Now, what I would recommend is that you put your roles in some kind of order, saying, hey, this is the one I really love, and here's why. And so if that's the one you want, then I would negotiate harder with the ones that you don't want first. And so I know we're kind of treading on negotiation and how to negotiate, but my advice would be negotiate with the one you don't want hardest first. That way you can at least let them know, yes, you're interested, but you're not at all satisfied with their terms. And not that you're unreasonable, but you can be a little more firm with the certain negotiating points to give them reasons why you would want to negotiate on those terms. And all negotiation, just so you know, should be number one, I would start it out verbally in a trial method with the hiring manager, and then follow that up in writing with the HR person. I know my HR folks might object to that advice, but I think it's best to be coordinating with the person that has the budget and the person that's going to be your boss. That way you're upfront and honest, and you're starting off your relationship on the right foot, because not always will you be first communicating with HR on every issue in your job. It's going to be the hiring manager. Okay. So you're demonstrating professionalism by having an open, transparent conversation with them. Okay. And then at that point, you negotiate. Now, I know, as you know, on FAQ Friday, I give you a top 5 list, or 5 things that you can do as part of the FAQ Friday, but I also give you a bonus, a number 6. So why don't we go ahead and hit that one? So the next bonus is ask questions. Sometimes we get into negotiations, or we get into a situation where we have multiple offers and we start making statements. And all that can do in most cases is upset people. I would suggest, if you're coordinating with a hiring manager or an HR person, get on the phone. It's better to do it by phone, number one, because there's no paper trail. And so what you're doing by doing it verbally is you're not creating a documented, maybe sometimes miscommunicated statement. You're asking a series of questions. Tell me more about this. What is it like doing this kind of work? And what is your flexibility in terms of PTO? Or is there an opportunity to work remotely after probationary period? That is a question. You're not saying, hey, I'm only interested in this role if you have that. You're saying, hey, I'm really interested in learning more about your policy or the availability of certain things. A signing bonus, PTO, contributions to 401k, that sort of thing. So within reason and within the law and policy, There may be some negotiating items that they reveal to you during that process. So it's best to first ask questions, okay? So let's review. First, respond with gratitude. In fact, during this whole process, be absolutely grateful and thankful. Start every conversation the same way. Gosh, I'm really grateful. I'm really thankful that I got this offer, and then go into whatever questions you might ask. Second thing is communicate. X3, right? As many times as you can, attempt to communicate just your process as you're going through it, step by step. Okay, you don't have to give them a play-by-play. Just say, hey, I received the offer. Thank you so much. Hey, I reviewed the offer. I have some questions. Can we talk by phone? Right? So just communicate throughout the process. I think you'll get a much better result. Number 3, know your timeline and theirs. That is, hey, you know, sometimes there's a timeline that you have a vacation coming up. There's certain negotiating items that they might not be aware of. So certainly you want to communicate those, and you want to know their timeline for getting somebody onboarded. Of course, given the situation, you might have more leverage because the market's really candidate friendly today. Identify your non-negotiables, negotiate, and ask questions. So those are the top 6 how to handle multiple job offers. Okay. Now, I did want to recommend some things that are going to help you through this process. And one of those that I found that is a lot of challenge for people is the idea of actually finding work. Many people today are doing the traditional job search. They're putting up, creating a resume, putting in an application, and crossing their fingers. And we found today that that's not an effective method to finding the right job. It might be good for finding a job, but it may not be the right way to find the right job. Okay. That's why I'm creating an online learning experience called 3 Steps to Career Success. And this is not only for people in transition and graduates, but it's also for people looking to get a promotion or to move up in their industry or to try something different. It's a process that you can use regardless of your situation to get from where you are to where you want to go. Okay. And so there's 3 steps to this process. The first one is, who are you? Through the learning curriculum and this process, we actually help you identify who you are so that you can then communicate your value to other people. The second step is, what do you want to do next? So many people understand who they are, but they might not know what they want to do next, or vice versa. So we handle both of those things. And so logically speaking, you'd want to identify your product or service before you identify a market. And so, again, this is me having 25 plus years sales and marketing experience. That's my lens. I'm not taking a lens from HR. Not that that's bad, but it's just a different lens. Okay. Who are you? What do you want to do next? The third step is, how do you meet the right people? Meaning your future boss or peers or people in organizations that you identified that you want to work for. How does that process work? What do you say? How do you say it? Is there a procedure to follow? Is there etiquette? And the answer is yes to all those things. So we'll teach you those 3 steps. Who are you? What do you want to do next? And how do you meet the people? If you're interested in that kind of training program, my anticipation is we'll start the 1st of November, and it's going to be a series of webinars. And so if you're interested in that, visit brandingdynamo.com and get on the wait list so that I can then notify you when this becomes available. brandingdynamo.com. Okay? So that's all I have for today. Let's hop on over to the chat and see if anybody's got any questions. Any questions on Instagram land? Whoop, whoop. Nope. No, sir. Okay. None on. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for visiting me this FAQ Friday. If you have any questions at all, just leave them in the comments or the chat, and I'd be happy to answer them next FAQ Friday. For now, have a great weekend and happy networking.